Hello, ladies and gentlemen, lions, tigers, and bears, cephalopods, shellfish, various organic and inorganic life forms. Welcome to the Juicy Grapes podcast, hosted by me, Boy Grapes, as we bring a guest on our show, talk about a variety of topics, and we discuss some things. First off, with some of our fake sponsors, Marvel Comics. We like to thank Marvel Comics for pumping out a bunch of really mid-action movies that are all pretty much the same. Next up, Target. If you want to go in and buy one or two things, but then unexpectedly go on a huge spending spree, you could thank Target for that. Next up, Gibson Guitars, for not making a great new design in over 50 years and somehow not being out of business already. So we're just going to start out by introducing our very special guest, gifted musician, violinist, sound engineer. She's currently studying at the prestigious Berklee College of Music, Annie Elise. Let's give it up for Annie.
Hello. It is I, Annie Elise.
What's up? How's your day going so far?
It's been a really good day. I'm here in Boston. It's nice and sunny. And the weather's really nice. I guess they're about to pick up the garbage outside. Maybe a little less nice than I was thinking, but yeah, my day's going good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I'm probably maybe gonna go outside a little bit later today. I think self-care is pretty important. I've noticed I'm not really drinking as much water as I should.
I feel that.
Have you been drinking enough water?
I have been trying to drink as much water as possible. I've been that person on the Zoom call that always is drinking water or drinking something.
Because I know that, especially as a college student, and also we're in quarantine, like there's that famous freshman 15, all that stuff going on. How has your diet changed since quarantine, since college?
Oh, man. Okay, so my diet's changed a few times. So when I first came to Berklee, I definitely gained the freshman 15 because the caf is just so good and the food is just amazing and there's so many foods to try. So then quarantine happened and I lost it all. I lost all of the freshman 15 that I had gained. But because I was living at home, I don't know, I was just eating the same foods. And then I moved here to Boston where I'm like in charge of making my own food and stuff. And I think I've gained it back. Yeah, I found I'm really good at making flatbreads, and that's dangerous because flatbreads are just so good.
Yeah, dude, a lot of my friends have been getting into like baking. Apparently like making bread is like the new thing.
Baking bread. Man, I haven't been baking bread, but I've been making flatbreads and some fantastic cookies.
To be honest, I don't really know much about flatbreads other than like Subway.
Yeah. It's like a pizza. And I make mine with, like, instead of tomato sauce, like with ricotta cheese. So, okay, my favorite flatbread recipe. All you listeners, take note. You take, like, a pita flatbread, you spread ricotta cheese on it, and then you fry up some mushrooms and zucchini, and you put it on there, some onion powder, and then you put honey over it. Honey, that's a secret. Honey and truffle oil. Oh. And then you put it in the toaster for, like, 5 minutes. It comes out. It would be the best thing you've ever eaten.
That sounds really good. See, now I'm tempted to go back and listen to this
dangerous.
And try to copy that recipe.
Yeah, it's a good recipe. I've been eating it a lot. My roommate makes fun of me for how many flatbreads I make.
I've been, especially now that I'm in quarantine, going on Netflix and watching a lot of movies. And whenever I watch a movie, I have a really bad habit. I know it's kind of unhealthy, but like I always just got to eat something while I'm watching the movie.
What's your go-to movie snack?
So I was actually gonna bring that up. My favorite, it's weird. Ooh. I really, really love Jolly Ranchers.
Jolly Ranchers, that's fascinating. Man, I've never heard anyone say that Jolly Ranchers are their go-to snack, but I come from Hershey, Pennsylvania, where they're made, and so I really appreciate that. Jolly Ranchers are really underappreciated.
What's your favorite flavor of Jolly Ranchers?
Man, cherry, hands down. Like, not even a competition. Not that watermelon stuff. Cherry.
I think cherry's great, but I think blue raspberry kind of takes the cake.
Really?
Like every time I open up a bag, I kind of sift through, and I'm like just looking for the blue raspberry. Like the blue raspberry Jolly Ranchers is like the M&Ms of trail mix. You know what I mean?
I feel you. I've never been a blue raspberry person. A cherry's always been where it's at for me.
Do you think grape gets too much hate?
I think grape gets the hate that it deserves. Not gonna lie, grape sucks.
I mean, I guess I'll have grape. It's not horrible. But speaking of Jolly Ranchers, because of cowboys, and cowboys also lead large groups of things, aka cows. Also leads large groups of things as public speakers. And speaking of public speaking, you gave a TED Talk.
Wow, that was quite a transition. How it was my TED Talk. Wow, I was not prepared for that transition there. That threw me for a loop. But yeah, I mean, what do you want to know?
Well, you talked about the subject matter was about synesthesia. Did I say that right?
Yeah, synesthesia.
So how much has well, first off, let's just tell the listeners out there what is synesthesia.
So synesthesia is a neurological condition where two or more of the sensory pathways are connected. And in my case, it's visual and auditory senses. So whenever I hear a sound, I'll also physically see a color. And whenever I see a color, I physically hear a sound.
That's awesome. So is it like anytime you make music, you like to think of like what colors it evokes, or is that just kind of part of it? Like, would you say that aesthetically synesthesia is what you're going for?
It definitely plays a bigger role in it than it would if I didn't. Wait, that sentence doesn't make any sense. Yes, I'm very aware of it as I'm creating, and also just like everyday sounds too. A big misconception that people have when they talk to me about synesthesia is that it's just musical sounds, but no, it's every single sound. So like you're talking to me right now, and your voice is like dark red. Which I'm seeing.
That's a nice color. Thank you.
It's a good color.
I'll take that as a compliment.
I'm glad that you like it. A lot of times people will ask me what their color means, but it doesn't really mean anything. It just is. Yeah. My voice
That's
color
fair.
is purple, and my hair is currently purple. And I think that had something to do with it, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta express yourself.
Yeah, purple's always been my favorite color too. I don't know if that's why though.
I think
like maybe it's been my favorite color because it's my voice. I don't know.
Purple's a very nice color. What is it? Lavender has always been one of my favorite flowers.
Yeah?
I think my least favorite color has got to be like orange.
Really? What did orange ever do to you?
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like orange evokes like really big Wario energy, and I know that Wario's color is like yellow, but Wario just makes me feel.
It feels orange. I guess I can see that. Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know if I could pick a least favorite color, but mine would probably be lime green. Yeah, that's my least favorite color.
What?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people like it.
Cool.
Like lime green is different than electric green, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like something about lime green just is like nails on a chalkboard for me. It's not my favorite color.
That's fair. So during the TED Talk, I don't know, because I've always like I always thought giving a TED Talk is like the coolest thing. They all sound fairly scripted, and that's not a bad thing. But when you give the TED Talk, do they have like big ass teleprompters or like what's going on?
Oh man, this is a big point of contention because no, there are no teleprompters. I spent so many weeks trying to. Basically, you have to memorize your speech. And you have it's like a 15-minute monologue. You have to think of it as. So yeah, no teleprompters. The only thing that I had was that I could see a visual of what was going on the screen because I was controlling the clicker. That was it. That was all I got. And there's also a big timer because if you go over the time limit, TEDx can't put your video up on their YouTube channel. So you have to stay pretty strictly to a time constraint. But yeah, no teleprompter, just a big old timer and a big old screen with what's going on the screen.
That's crazy. How did you get the TEDx gig?
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny story. My freshman year of high school, I released an album. It was an instrumental album of sounds, just like little ditties that I made all based on my synesthesia. Like each song was, it had a specific color for me. And so I kind of did it to understand myself more and my synesthesia a little more. And I released it thinking like, oh, well, now this project's done and I don't have to think about it. And his name is Bob Vasile. He's the organizer of TEDx Lancaster. And he heard the album and was like, hey, please apply to speak. And so I did. And the rest is history. I definitely could have never expected the talk to become as big as it has. That just blows my mind every day when I think about it. I think it's about to reach 100,000 views. It's the most seen TEDx talk on synesthesia, and I never ever expected that to happen. I thought that the most people that would ever hear it were in the room when I gave the talk, and now just so many people have seen it, and it's amazing.
That's awesome. So, like you mentioned, you make music. You are currently studying music. What instruments do you play?
So my principal
just give
instrument.
us a quick rundown.
Okay, quick rundown. My principal instrument at Berklee is violin. I also double on viola. I have like a 5-string violin viola, so I call it my violinola. I also sing a lot. I'm in charge of point of departure at Berklee, so vocal jazz is something I do a lot. And then I also do synthesizers, like Launchpad, drum programming and stuff. I would say I'm proficient on piano, but violin, viola, and singing, that's where my main stuff is, I guess.
That's awesome. Yeah, the one instrument that I used to play piano when I was like 10. I got these like lessons that I absolutely hated.
Oh my goodness.
But now that I'm getting into like now that I'm getting into like making music, piano's been like the one instrument that I've like wanted to learn, but I just haven't really invested the time. Like I play guitar all the time, I play drums all the time. I like to play bass. So that's awesome. That's awesome that you have that range.
A little bit. It's a funny story. I'm like a fake piano player. But yeah.
I mean, hey, if you're playing the notes, it can't be that fake. So.
Well, thank you.
So on the subject of being a musician, playing instruments, do you think that being good at playing an instrument makes you a good musician, or is there like something else going on?
Oh, I absolutely think that there's something else going on. I've met many good musicians that think about music in just a way that's so different, but their main way to express it isn't necessarily with the instrument. A lot of fantastic producers and engineers that I know are excellent musicians just in the way that they think about music, but I don't know, they don't have the language to get it out on their instrument, but they do like talk about it in a way that is fantastically musical and just blows me away. Even a bunch of conductors that I know too, I would say that they're fantastic musicians, but the way for them to express their musicianship is not necessarily through their instrument.
Yeah, that's fair. I catch a decent amount of flack for my opinion that you could be really, really good at an instrument, but that doesn't make you a good musician.
Oh, I absolutely agree.
There's like a million virtuosos out there, but there's a much smaller amount of people that have like new ideas and artistic goals and just want to create something new. Like there's a ton of people who just are really good at their instrument. Just a little story I have is I used to be in a band, and we would rehearse at the drummer's house, and the drummer plays in a ton of jazz bands. He is one of the best drummers I've ever seen. He loves playing in these crazy time signatures. He does all these weird accents, and he just loves playing the drums. But when it comes to his chemistry with the other people in the band, when it came to writing a song, he couldn't just like carry just like a normal beat to save his life. And he never really had any ideas when it came to writing a song. He just really wanted to just go ham with the
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I totally get you. I used to play in a big classical orchestra with people around my age. They're fantastic, prodigious virtuosos on their violins, cellos, whatnot. But I don't know. I feel like half of the time they were just, I don't want to say regurgitating everything that they'd ever learned, but it was like the creativity wasn't there. It was just they're doing exactly what they'd been taught. And I think that there's a big difference between someone who can copy something musically and between someone who has their own musicality and own ideas and stuff. I think that's the part that really makes someone a fantastic, rememberable musician. Rememberable? That's not the word. Memorable.
Yeah, memorable. There's something just like, I guess, really weird to me about learning a solo note by note, especially if the person who created the piece of music went in the studio and just kind of felt it out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm much more of a improvisation player. I love to jam because when a lot of my learning came from being self-taught, playing in church with the pianist, and all he would do was he'd give me the key of the song and just kind of like an idea of what the chord progression was. And when I first came to play, me being somebody who just loves playing a bunch of like Nirvana and like Green Day, these really basic songs on the bass, it was so daunting until I just kind of learned like, hey, you just got to feel it out for yourself. And that really changed my perspective on playing music and recording music. So I think me personally, I prefer having your own little mark rather than trying to like emulate somebody else.
Oh, I totally agree. And it's a lot of playing around and finding your own musical voice as well.
So we covered being good at an instrument. We covered having your own specific little, mark, your own little style. What I started out on bass, and somebody that I really looked up to was somebody like Flea, and especially slapping and stuff like that, Victor Wooten.
Oh, Victor
I was
Wooten.
very... You got coffee with Victor Wooten.
I did get coffee with Victor Wooten. Yes, I did.
Tell us about that.
Oh, man. So it's kind of a funny story as to how I know Victor. We both have the same neurological condition that affects our hands. It's different than the neurological condition of synesthesia. This one's called focal dystonia. And I don't really know how to explain this one, except that basically my brain is sending messages to my hand, but they're not getting to my hand. And so as a result, my finger is just kind of stuck in a 90-degree angle, which really sucks for playing violin and any instrument, especially him for his bass. So I didn't know anyone. This like popped up for me within my first 2 months at Berklee, and I was very scared trying to, be independent and on my own, and also dealing with this condition that no one seems to know about. I remember I went to a doctor around here, which was a whole big thing because I'd never been to a Boston doctor before, and done it like on my own. So I remember I was doing that, and they thought that it was trigger finger, which is not good. Then they thought it was like carpal tunnel related, which is even worse. And then they were like, hey, we think you have musician's focal dystonia, and that's even worse because there is no cure for it. You just kind of have to, I don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows a lot about it, but it's relatively rare, especially amongst like younger players and musicians. And the only other person that I had ever heard that had it was Victor Wooten. So I sent him an email and just kind of explaining that, he's the only person I knew that had it. And he sent me an email back basically saying the same thing, like that he didn't know many people with it either and that we should meet to talk about it. So he's just been a fantastic person to process this whole thing with. We both know different parts about our experiences with it, and when we put it together, it seems like we know even more. So, yeah. That's that.
That is awesome. Yeah. So, in addition to Victor Wooten, you also told me a little story earlier about how you missed out on Charlie Puth coming to the school. Like you're busy or something that day. So I just like to ask, have there been any other big names who just kind of come and go through Berklee? Oh,
for sure. Yeah, big names come all the time. I think Jacob Collier is giving like a virtual masterclass next week. It's very common for people to just stop by, and if you're in the right place at the right time, you can, go say, hey. I'm trying to think if I have any other stories. I got to hang backstage with Mary Lambert at a showcase one time. She's pretty big in the pop industry. I'm not sure if you know of her stuff, but
I do.
Yeah, she wrote this song called Secrets that I love. But yeah, she was playing like a piano set as part of Mental Health Awareness Week, and I was in the showcase reading a poem that I wrote about mental health, which is funny because like I don't write poetry at all. It's just this one poem. But yeah, she's fantastic. So cool. So cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that story reminded me of I don't know if you heard of him, but there's this band that is kind of starting to make some waves online called Glass Beach.
Glass Beach. I know the name, but I'm not sure I've heard their stuff.
Their album is great, but they're not like super big, but a lot of people just know that one album that they have. And so I DM'd them and I was like, hey guys, I like love your music. I just want to tell you guys that you guys are amazing. I really appreciate what you do.
Aww.
I didn't expect a DM back, but the dude who runs the account, the bassist, they DM me back and they're like, thank you so much. That's awesome. And I was like, yeah, I show this on my music. And they're like, yeah, this is pretty neat. It's pretty neat.
Yo.
And it turns out they were going on tour. I was like, oh well, they're all the way on the West Coast. I'm out here in Virginia.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait a second, I'm visiting this one school in LA, and they happen to be in LA that night.
No way.
So
oh
I was
my
like,
gosh.
So I was like, oh man, I need to go. And so I go to the venue. It's like $14 to get in. There was maybe like 35, 40 people there. It was not a big show at all, but they freaking killed it. After the show, I go up and I talk to them. And I'm like, hey, I'm the guy that DM'd you, Boy Grapes. And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, hey, what's up? You know, I talk with them for a little while. Like, man, that's awesome. I go over to the merch booth. They give me a free T-shirt.
Ooh.
And that it's always a good idea to network. Maybe even if you don't expect them to hit you back.
Yeah, even if you think they're out of your league, you know, in a musical sense or whatever. Like, there's never any harm in asking.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they're people too. They live the same 24.
They are.
You never know.
They are. We had a lot of people come into the Burn. I don't know if you know about Berkeley's internet radio network. I used to work there doing all the video stuff. We're not operating this semester, so my job doesn't exist at the moment. But my job was to do all the video for every. They were called Burn Alive sessions, and we'd just have bands that were coming in the area. They'd come in and do like a set, and we'd videotape it and put it up online. And I met some really cool bands that way. Yeah, I don't know if you're in like this scene, but Weekend Friends is one of my favorite bands, and they came and did a Burn Alive session. I like was fangirling the whole time, but they're wonderful.
I gotta check them out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
that's
so
cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So, especially being at music school, because they say that's a place where you network, you get known, and where you meet these famous people. Do you expect, is that like one of your goals, to be a really big name, or like what do you anticipate happening for your career?
That's a good question, because it's changing all the time. Right now, I'm kind of caught at this crossroads of, you know, I feel like I have to make a choice. Like, am I going to be an artist or am I going to be a producer engineer? And man, in a perfect world, I would love to be both. I would love to be a producer engineer for some big name records, and kind of stay hidden, because I love being behind the scenes on a lot of different projects. But it's also nice to have, you know, a project that you can showcase that is yours and is your own. I feel like I haven't quite found the balance yet of where I want to be, but I am playing a festival this November for election night as Annie Elise, which I'm really excited about, because that doesn't get to happen very much. Yeah, but I guess my career goals are definitely more oriented towards a producer engineer than an artist. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. I don't know what you want to call like a big name, but I enjoy the idea of working with big name artists while myself remaining kind of, I don't know, normal. A normal name.
That's fair. Well, Annie, I can't wait to see what you create in the future.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see all the hard work that you put in the industry, and I really appreciate doing this interview, this podcast with you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, everyone out there, make sure you check out Annie Elise, and I will see you guys next time.